This week we're talking about the gratitude and suffering spectrum. And what we find is when we're on the positive cycle, we see that we are capable, we have value for ourselves, and we see that we have motivation to want to do more things. We find blessings and opportunities in what is presented to us. But when we get on the negative cycle, then we find that we become more and more overwhelmed with our distress, our suffering, our despair. And as those overwhelming feelings come, we find more avoidance, we get more dopamine pulls for short-term relief, and we get longer-term anxiety, longer-term distressing feelings, which makes us feel incapable, makes us have low motivation to do better, and makes us have implicit devaluing, actually explicit devaluing. So we're devaluing ourselves, giving us more opportunity to have these negative, distressing feelings. And so kind of gratitude and suffering are on the same spectrum. And of course, dichotomies are anxious thoughts, and that means we're in trauma brain and bad brain. And so what we're trying to do is find balance and understand that gratitude is a place of finding possibility and purpose, and suffering is feeling overwhelmed and helpless and hopeless. And so when we find ourselves in a depressed place, it's because we're helpless and hopeless. We are cycling in suffering and despair. And when we feel like the world is our oyster and we have so much going for us, it's because we're in a place of gratitude. It's not the circumstance, it is the perspective. And I like to see gratitude and suffering like the river of life metaphor. I love my visualizations and I love my metaphors. And the river of life just has so much meaning in so many ways, especially with perspective building. And on the river of life, you can't control the current and you can't control the weather, but you can control whether or not you are in the boat and what bank you get off on. And when we're in an anxious state, we immediately panic and we paddle to the bank of suffering and despair. And that can be very convoluted, if you will, because you can think that you're in the 100-acre woods, but what you realize is all of a sudden the heffalumps and woozles are coming in, and you're actually in Pooh's nightmare. You're not in his happy 100-acre woods. But when we can ground and we can see everything that's going on. I'm a Florida girl, so I know that every day at 3 o'clock it's going to rain. When the clouds come in at 3, I think, man, it's going to be a really refreshing rain. I don't think hurricane. But that's the point. When we're in suffering and despair and distress, every cloud feels like it's going to be overwhelming and it's going to be an incident and not beautiful things that we can see as if it's passing in the sky. And when we know that, oh no, that's just, that's a 3 o'clock rainstorm, we can get through that. Or, you know what, this is going to be a little bit bigger. I think I want to get on stable ground and I really want to be intentful in this experience. We get on the bank of gratitude, value, strength building, and growth. And so, sometimes we're in that boat, and that boat is an interesting metaphor because sometimes we're riding it because we're still in despair and we're trying to power through because we have performance trauma. And sometimes we're there because we think that we have to be there, that we're on a river, so therefore we have to be there. And sometimes it's very forgiving and there's a lot of freedom in it and there's a lot of hope in it. So it's just, again, it's being grounded and knowing what you're doing on that river and being intentful of where you're at. It doesn't matter where you're at, it's knowing that you're there and being intentful in that space. And there will be things that will make us need to navigate through challenges, and that is okay. The river of life metaphor says that, there will be ripples, there will be rapids, and it is okay. It's being intentful of where you're at and why you are there and what you want to do with that. When it comes to the science behind gratitude provides a lot of dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. And so it is allowing us to be grounded, And that emotional part of the brain, remember the amygdala, that temporal part of the brain, is our emotionally reactionary place. So when we're in suffering, despair, we are letting our past occupy our present, and we are in an emotionally reactionary survival instinct space. And that is no bueno for leadership and success. And so when we are grounded, we can see the value, we can take an action-oriented step on what the promise and the availability is. Then we're getting into the prefrontal, we're getting into the executive function, which means we're starting to utilize some of those leadership skills that we need that will build to self-awareness and then improve our social intelligence. And so what we're trying to look at is understanding this connection between suffering, which is in our amygdala, our primitive state, and getting into neocortex, our action-oriented, logic-driven state, and not fearing one or the other, but rather understanding and finding balance and knowing when one is of value in serving us and when the other is of value in serving us. And so how we're doing that is we're taking deep breaths. We're finding kind of what is of value and meaning to us. We're taking deep breaths. We're grounding. We're finding connection to ourselves and what the bigger purpose is and what is our intention here. So let life present to you like a math problem, and you're not just whizzing it off and saying this is dumb. You're saying, okay, what do I want to do with this? You know, get that algebra equation, hit the parentheses first, then multiply outside the parentheses, then you do your dividing, your subtracting, your adding, put them all together. Know the processes in place in order to intentionally address each event as it presents to you, and you will be on top with finding your gratitude, your opportunity for growth and strength building, instead of feeling overwhelmed and as if you are not capable of being able to conquer these things. I work with top executives in my coaching practice. I use my cognitive behavioral therapy techniques with executive coaching and leadership development, and I see the transformation that happens on how to become a director to a C-suite exec is by maintaining and harnessing this sense of gratitude, this understanding that there is growth potential in everything. And when we see where the growth potential is, when we find the gratitude of how this is presenting to us as a lesson, as a value, as a strength building exercise, then it really helps us to navigate beyond it, because we know that this is our master level class, this is our MBA. And so it's important to take those moments to stay present, to be aware and grounded, and that's what gets you into the C-suite. Mindfulness, as always, is a big part of it. It's awareness, it's awareness, it's acceptance, and it's action. And so when we are in a grounded, present state, we are mindful. We are coming at it without judgment and only seeing as growth and opportunity. And then we are accepting it, not agreeing, but just accepting it for what it is. And then we're taking action. And we learn the action steps in coaching and therapy. That's where you get those action steps. These are ways to build awareness, but to really get to the action step, schedule a consult. Go into the video description, click on a free 15-minute wellness insight, and get a consult and find some action steps that will help you to get you to the next level, especially as 2025 is coming and you're looking at hopefully goals, not resolutions. You're looking for that opportunity to get into that next phase. And that takes the action steps. And there's a lot of ways, depending on what your triggers are and what your experiences are, will define what your action is. It's very individuated. For good coaching sessions, it's very individuated. It's not going to be one size fits all, and you wouldn't want that for something that is so special to you as living your values and your dreams. And when we come into the idea of leadership and success, emotional intelligence is very important. So as we are in the prefrontal cortex, as we said, we find self-awareness, and then it's just where they are in the brain, I promise you. And then it goes into emotional or social intelligence. And the more that we build our EQ, the better we are to understand our own selves, and the better we are to understand others and where they're at. And that's where gratitude comes in. It's understanding that it's not about you, it's about what has happened to them. And when you can have the empathy of understanding that somebody's going through something right now, and instead of being defensive and saying, I must be doing something wrong, instead saying, something is happening here. And I validate the experience that something is happening here. And I'm going to come in and pivot to make the most out of what is happening here. And when we do this, we really are finding how the brain is shifting to a more positive state and removing itself from this survival mode and this reactionary, emotionally driven place and this feeling of helplessness and overwhelm to a sense of opportunity and growth and really feeling capable. And how we can do this is in a team environment, is understanding where people are and ingratiating it, finding the gratitude in the team, finding the possibilities in the team, coming to the team and throwing a jigsaw puzzle, which is the problems, onto the table and letting everybody take their point. And that's the beauty about teams, about couples, about relationships, about engagement with others and interactions with others, is the goal is to everybody look at problems like a jigsaw puzzle, because nobody fights over the corners. Of course, we all think that that's the best thing to do. But if somebody else gets it, we're like, fine, I'll go for the sky, or I'll go for the trees, and I'll still have corners, and I'll still feel happy, and I'll get my corners over here with the trees, or I'll get my corners with the sky. But I'm choosing my space, and people are giving me things, and I see how they are coming together quickly, and I don't care anymore. I don't care if it's going to be the puppy that I'm doing, if it's the house that I'm doing, if it's the clouds I'm doing. It doesn't matter, because when people are bringing me the pieces because they see them and it's in their hand and it's easy for them to do that, and everybody is success oriented. Everybody wants to see what that puzzle looks like finished. So they just want everybody to be successful. And it's a beautiful opportunity and metaphor for leadership style, is throw the jigsaw puzzle onto the table and let people take the parts that they connect with. You'll see that it goes a lot farther than everybody battling out for a position and some kind of level of prestige that comes with that position or that task. We level task, and we say, I don't want to be the secretary. I don't want to be a stupid treasurer. I want to be the president. And it happens all the time as we start to get these perceived expectations, killer of joy. And we lose track of what the ultimate goal is. And so be a jigsaw puzzle, put it out there, see what happens. And then build a personal development action plan for yourself. So whatever that looks like, find what your triggers are, go into the video description. I'm actually going to have something on my blog that you can link to be able to build your own personal development action plan. And really what it's going to look like is understanding your triggers, understanding your warning signs, grounding techniques that work best for you, pulling yourself into that leadership style, finding your self-awareness, and connecting to your EQ. And this is, what we want to do when we are looking at the gratitude and suffering spectrum. We've got a lot of great videos this week, so subscribe, stay connected, learn about how you can fix your relationship, or any relationship is an interaction between two people. fix that relationship just on one side. If you keep your side of the street clean, everybody else will follow in. Coming into the new year, not doing resolutions, but setting goals and looking at the cycle of restricting and binging. And then we're also looking at, the gratitude of Christmas and how can we carry that for the rest of the year. So we've got some really great things happening this week. So subscribe, hit that like button, and keep focused. This is a great time to end our 2024 and really jump into 2025 with the success mindset. Thank you so much.